are advancing for Gyökeres. Gyökeres seems to be the striker choice for Arsenal. I'm not gonna lie. I've come on here. I've come on Twitter many times. I've said Sesko is my preferred choice. I've specified reasons why. Obviously, you all know Isak was my number one choice. I've also specified reasons why I think Gyökeres wouldn't work. So I'm not gonna come here and just be one of those fans just because Arsenal have to make their choice and not hold my hands up and be accountable and say I was wrong and say that the choice is wrong. I'm humble to do that, but I can see why Arsenal have chosen to go this route. I'm happy that they have, and after a bit of thought, I've kind of come around to understanding why I feel that this might be the better deal. So I'm going to talk about the Gyökeres deal and the updates in this video. I'm also going to talk about Nwaneri Madueke and Eberechi Eze. If you're new and you're returning and you haven't already hit the subscribe button, as you can see, I'm on the road to 1,000 subs, almost there. Smash the like button down below and comment down below anything you agree or disagree that I say in this video. So yeah, obviously Fabrizio, David Ornstein, all of the main aggregators came out saying Arsenal are advancing in the deal with Sporting for Victor Gyökeres with a 5-year contract already agreed. We've been seeing a lot of noise coming up over the last couple of months, or last month I should say, from Portugal saying that obviously Arsenal have prioritized Gyökeres, that they're agreeing a deal. Honestly, I just thought it was kind of smoke screen for the sesko deal, which it might have been. But obviously it was reported and coming out that obviously Leipzig were holding out for higher valuation, over 80 million euros, which Arsenal just don't value Sesko at, which I'm pretty sure no one does. And not to say that he won't be that type of striker, but I've always said Arsenal need to be wise in the transfer window. The striker is not the only thing we need to get, and also you don't overpay for a player that isn't worth that value to you. And Arsenal have done that, and I'm happy that they've changed their ways in that essence, where they're not just overpaying for players because they're desperate. As Victor Gyökeres coming in, I think the price will probably end up being 50 to 60 million pounds, and then a couple of add-ons, which is the decent fee for a guy 27 who scored almost 100 goals in 120 games for Sporting and over 100 goals in that period for club and country included. Yes, Portuguese league is a lower league, I've said it. Yes, Sporting play a lot on the transition. Gyökeres get a lot of his goals on transition with space and behind, and yes, Arsenal play majority against teams low block, mid blocking, because obviously teams respect Arsenal, want to restrict our space. And I've always said that obviously Gyökeres coming to this team, I don't know if he'll get the space and the opportunity to score the goals he has, and he will. No one's expecting him to score 40 goals in the Premier League, but if he's coming, and we've had the likes of Marino, makeshift striker, Havertz, who you won't say is the most clinical, but I still rate him in that position, coming in and scoring goals, a guy who clearly knows how to put the ball in the back of the net, has the hunger and desire, and has waited for Arsenal, can make a difference, especially if it's in the box, if it's in those tight games, if it's a one shot, those times where Saka drags across goal and we're like, oh, if we had a striker, or someone puts a cross into the box and then someone has a timid header or the movement isn't good, if we had a striker, well, if you get that striker and a guy that wants to score, a guy that's willing to give up 2 million of owed wages from Sporting to try and facilitate this deal. Obviously it's not been agreed yet, so I'm not going to get carried away, because you know how the transfer window can go, but it seems like it's going in that direction. It seems like Arsenal are trying to get this done before Friday, obviously 2 days. Obviously I think he has to return back to Sporting's training and pre-season on Friday, so let's see if that gets agreed before then, or if Arsenal are kind of trying to get everything done quickly. But it makes sense because it still leaves funds for the other positions, like the left wing priority, Eze, who seems to be the 10 priority or 10 position, and maybe Nwaneri Madueke, who seems that we're seriously going in for this in this window, because I feel like Arsenal need to address a lot of positions before we say our squad is complete. Do you know what I mean? So that's the interesting part that I find part of this deal, and I think we've seen the way he's waited for Arsenal, seen the way he wants to play. I like that hunger. He's moved me, and he's a goal scorer. Scores pens, clinical penalties goal scorer, and he scored a lot of goals, so he's gonna want to come in and continue that. He's not gonna he's probably sees the talk of everyone saying, probably myself, people saying not good enough, he's to prove himself again, yes, played in Championship, Portuguese league isn't a top 5 league, etc. So let's see. But Arsenal advancing in this deal, they've made their choice in the striker. I like that we haven't dragged this past, where we've already played the preseason game. We're trying to get the main signings in before preseason starts. We still have a lot of great players. I've seen the players come back from preseason training today. Saka's, Rice, Saliba's, Martinelli's, Odegaard's. Even you see Max Downham there, Miles Lewis Skelly, Ben White. So it was nice to see the players back in. So let's see. Obviously, Arsenal, in other news, Arsenal are also pushing for Madueke. Obviously, it came out a bit last week from David Ornstein and a few other people, Fabrizio and of Arsenal, that Arsenal had agreed personal terms with Madueke and they're trying to hash out a deal for him. Arsenal trying to pay a decent price. Chelsea were trying to get 50 million plus, and you've seen the likes of Elanga go for 55. Kudus, who Tottenham have just agreed for 50 million, I believe it was, or 55. The Arsenal trying to get in and around. Or Fabrizio's tweeted today that Arsenal have submitted an initial bid for Madueke of a 50 million deal package, including add-ons. So I'm assuming maybe it might be 45 plus 5 or 40 plus 10 or 42 plus 7 or something like that, which I would prefer if it was that base fee of that 40 million and then obviously some add-ons that maybe are achievable but we don't have to get right now. It's unknown whether Chelsea are going to agree this deal. Obviously they said that Arsenal have a good relationship with Chelsea. Obviously many dealings of us taking Chelsea players, as you all know. But my thoughts on Madueke, I'll be honest, I never wanted this player. I rate him. I think he's a good player. I'm not saying he's the best right winger in the world, but I've never wanted him. He was never part of my plans. And if we're considering buying a player for a Saka backup, I was always thinking maybe a Bakayoko and Bremo. But I was always saying, obviously, he's not really a backup. Kudus is not really a backup. They're starters. I'm not saying Madueke isn't a starter, but he's unproven at the same time, given his age. Same age as Saka, but unproven in this league compared to the previous two. And obviously, the price was always the stipulating point. Obviously, if you're paying 40-50 million, is that really for a backup? Does that mean that Arsenal are going to nominate him to be maybe a player that plays in the left wing, and I'm not going to go for a Rodrygo potentially or an Eze, which is always the fear. Obviously a lot of these journalists have come out and say that they're separate, but who knows? We all know our Arsenal. We've seen how Arsenal have operated many years. I've been Arsenal for almost 20 years of my life, or over 20 years of my life, so trust me, I've seen. But if the package obviously is decent, like a 40 million base bid, 10 million add-ons, and Chelsea accept it, I'm down with that, because I think if it ends up being Madueke, Eze, and Rodrygo, or Madueke, Eze, and another player left wing, then I'm good. But that would probably mean an error on the side of obviously selling a player like Trossard and Martinelli, and I think we'll probably lean more towards a Trossard, because not that he won't generate more money. I think Arsenal have other ways they can generate some profit with some of the players that we can sell, but I think Martinelli still has a bit more potential. I think, yes, he's had 2 underwhelming seasons, but I think if we're looking more at their upside, I think Trossard is probably going more the downturn, while Martinelli can still have the upturn even if he's plateaued, if you know what I mean, because of the ages of the career and stuff and the contract length. Trossard's contract ends next season. Martinelli still has 2 years. I think it's probably better to let Trossard go now, because I feel like he's going to start declining. We're going to see a drastic decline, even though he's a reliable player, and we've got to continue to refresh it. He was brought in as a stopgap initially, so maybe this is the time that gap doesn't need to be stopped anymore, if that makes sense. But yeah, to move on to Eze, obviously it seems that Arsenal are prioritising this deal. Obviously it's unknown whether Arsenal are going to try and pay that I know Arsenal want to pay under the release clause, but I don't know what kind of iteration. There were some reports coming out yesterday about how Arsenal Palace want to include a player, potentially a defender. Obviously I was thinking maybe that's Kivio. Some people were saying Josh Nichols. Some other reports, ITKs, were saying maybe Arsenal tried to float around the idea of Vieira. Well, whatever valuation Arsenal have to do, make sure that you don't underball or underdo the value for Eze, that Palace don't want to negotiate no more. Obviously I know there's not really that many teams that would probably need Eze in the squad. Not saying they won't need Eze, that's a bad thing. Well, we'll be looking to sign him, given that they probably have players in that position that he plays. Maybe Bayern, but they might go for Xavi Simons. So Arsenal might have free, and if Eze's given our word he wants to come back home, Arsenal need to make it happen. But I also don't want Arsenal to overpay if they can pay under, which is what I like we're doing. We're not just going in if a team says 60 million, pay 60 million. You do what you do in the market. They say 3 for £1, you say, what can I get, 6 for £1, and the guy might meet you in the middle at 4 or 5, and then you got a deal. Do you know what I'm saying? Hopefully we can get Eze, and hopefully just Madueke, if it seems like this is moving and it seems like we are going to move for this player, that it doesn't affect those other deals. And with Nwaneri, just before I go, obviously it's Nwaneri's home is Arsenal. I think seeing the fact that Miles signed his deal, probably got good wages. Obviously he has more of an important role in the squad. I'm pretty sure Ethan wants similar or near enough wages and understanding of his playing time. But I think Ethan's an interior player that will play inside, maybe as a competition directly to Odegaard, but Eze will come in to play in that left 8 as well as left wing as well as in that 10, so he has multiple positions. And obviously long term Nwaneri will be in that position. In a couple of years time, a couple of players will be moved on, so I think Arsenal just need to make sure he gets enough minutes this season so that he's not wasted. But I think his contract will get agreed soon. That guy is Arsenal through and through, trust me. So yeah, that's just my update, my honest opinion. Comment down below what you think. Do you think I'm bullshitting? Do you think I'm capping, or do you agree? Subscribe to my channel, as I said again. Like this video, and I'll catch you guys on the next one.